There's an amazing fold here, recumbent fold, and there's a thrust, and there's a thrust, and once the camera gets a bit closer we can see what's going on, and maybe if I'm feeling up to it we can scramble up there and have a look at some slicken sides. Alright, how do we describe this? There by the bush that the camera's pointing at, where my finger's pointing, that's kind of growing along the fault plane, the thrust fault, and you can see the recumbent fold, excuse my fingers waving here, there bending around, and there's some fault drag. So as that thing's pushing this way, it's obviously bending, but it's also dragging these other beds that you can see all the see all those white marks on the rock. Those are called tension gashes, which are now infilled with quartz, and they indicate the direction of movement. So this is also an absolutely spectacular example of a thrust fault and a folding that you don't actually see except possibly in textbooks. So here we are, here in MeiringsPoort, between going down through to De Rust and back to Oudtshoorn. Right, any good geologist needs to be able to walk. He's even got the shoes for the job, look at that. Right, here we go. A little scramble, but I think it's safe enough. Look at these lovely white tension gashes. In fact, these are quite spectacular. You can see they're also little faults thrusting, and that's come this way and that's come that way. Bit of movement. Obviously there's a space issue here and everything's pulling and dragging and shearing, and it tears the rock apart. That's pulling and tearing, and it's all splitting open, and it leaves these gashes, and that's the direction of movement. So this side has gone this way, and this geologist drawing an arrow here has gone that way, and it pulls and it fills, it leaves these gashes which then infill with quartz. So well done to finding a good example. In fact, I knew about this place because we came here on a geology field trip. It must be 25 years ago now, and so I've been kind of meaning to come here for years. I think what I'm going to do is take my shoes off, just make things a little bit safe here, because these things are not fantastic for climbing, and then we can get up here a little bit more with a little bit more agility. I feel like a baboon on the rock. Try not to fall down, because no one knows where I am. And that wouldn't do at all. Up we go. I didn't remember it being this high up off the road. I see the baboons have been here. I hope I don't get thorns on my feet. Right, there's a thrust. There's a lot of manure here. This is actually the thrust plane. You can see running along there. It's nice and stinky. And there, the vertical bedding going up, and it sweeps up above you. It sweeps around. So that's quite spectacular. Bring the camera slowly back down so as not to make you all seasick. If I remember, there were things called slicken sides where it polishes as this massive amount of rock slides over the other. Ah, look, here we are. Slicken sides. There we are. Look at that, spectacular. The direction of movement has actually been this way. And there's a polished surface that you see. That's called slicken sides. It's tempting to call it slicken slides, but it's slicken side. I think it must be some odd German word. So the direction of movement has actually been this way. So I'm happy to have seen those. I remember seeing them all those years ago, trying to avoid standing in the dung. I'm going to have to go back and rescue my shoes. But I'm walking down the fault plane, and you can see all the shearing. In fact, there's some more slicken sides over here. Let's come back. Easy to see, nice and spectacular. And this zone here, you get the fault bridge here. The forms along the plain. Obviously it's going to shear and get mashed up as it goes. So that's pretty amazing. There's some breccia down there, again all chewed up and riven with little faults and veins. But obviously it makes a more preferential area for weathering too, so it's all been worn out. And that's my fault. And a thrust fault and a recumbent fold. Right, hard to keep the camera steady. Walking back to the car. Look at that very cave. Mountains, sandstone, blue sky. Got a polarizing lens that looks even better. We see some softer shales capping the hill there, just above the Land Rover. Here on our right, more folding. Usual amazing folding of the Cape Fold Belt. Comes down, and then it comes back up. And there's the nose of the fold, and it comes and then it goes back up again. And then it falls down there where the Hammerkop is, and back down to the road, well, to the river there, opposite where the Land Rover is. So my apologies for waving the camera around, but how else am I to show it?